Can Vancouver Surge finally break through in the finals? Will Atlanta FaZe dominate the scene as they have in years prior?
It is brains, not brawn. Forget FaZe the win!
These are some of the questions we're going to ask and answer today in the Global Gaming Network Call of Duty Power Rankings. Today I'm joined with Andy, proper Neckrich. How are we doing today, Andy?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a fun weekend, fun month, fun season so far of Call of Duty. I'm ready to nerd out over this stuff.
Yeah, it's been all over the place if you ask me. We've seen upsets abound. We've seen roster changes abound. We've got some new superstars that are exciting in the scene. Glad to have you with us. Andy is our expert. And of course, I didn't introduce myself, but my name's Eli. I'm going to be taking us through all the different teams and the power rankings. So let me explain how things work though. So we've got a handy dandy formula to describe these teams as far as their performance in the last 3 months. So it's broken down into 2 categories. We've got the performance index, which considers series win percentage, major placements, and minor placements. We do have a bias towards LAN, so LAN is going to matter a little bit more when it comes to the scores. The other part of the equation is the expert consensus score, where we have polled experts to rank all of the teams in order and then normalize that to a 0 to 100 scale to come up with a 70% performance data and 30% expert opinion. Now that that is understood, let's go ahead and jump into it, Andy. We're going to go ahead and top off the list. It's going to be the LA Thieves in the #1 spot. Now their power ranking score come in with 90. These guys started the year slow by their own and probably nade shot standards, but they're kind of on the rise now. They win the most recent LAN. They've got a win percentage of 78% on LAN. The only hiccup they've really had in the last 3 months was a surprise loss to Boston Breach in winners round 1 at Major 2, and then obviously getting 3-0'd by a hot Toronto Ultra in the lower side. But my question to you, Andy, is who's popping off for Thieves, and are we convinced that this is actually the best team in the league right now?
I think we were convinced that this was the #1 team in the game before the Black Ops 6 season even started. I'll be candid. I mean, they were coined as a super team when you get Hydra, world champion from New York Subliners. You get Scrap, not a world champion, but a major winner from the Toronto Ultra. Envoy, major winner, world champion, and Dan Ghosty, one of the best IGLs to do it. You're gonna go through some growing pains to try to figure out how the whole team chemistry is gonna end up working, but they got a really good back of house as well. They got Sender. He's also a world champion coach from New York Subliners, been working with Paco Hydra for his entire tenure of the Call of Duty League as well. So I think it was a matter of time to see them slowly encompass the upper epsilon of the Call of Duty League. And yeah, the loss to Boston Breach was strange, but Boston also played that match incredibly well. For, what was it, Major 2, they were #1 seed. They didn't get the finish that they wanted. They got mollywopped by Toronto Ultra 0-3 in that lower final, or the lower semifinals. And then you go over towards Major 3, and they made the history for the entire season. #1 seed, #1 team. They beat everybody along the way. The only team that they haven't beat on LAN is Atlanta FaZe.
Wow, I mean, honestly, great breakdown, and I didn't even realize that. So yeah, FaZe the only team that they didn't have to run into. Correct. Because they were eliminated a bit earlier than everybody expected.
Yeah, the LA Thieves, they were the #1 seed, and then Atlanta FaZe were the #6 seed every single time in the major, besides, I want to say, like Major 1. They completely avoid each other being on the opposite sides of the bracket.
Wow, okay, well, that's going to do it for the LA Thieves wrap up. Let's go ahead and reveal our #2 on the list. It's going to be Vancouver Surge. Now, this team definitely on the rise. They've been extremely consistent. I mean, you're talking about grand finals appearance in the minor, the last 2 LANs as well. Neptune looks absolutely insane. This guy's movement looks so difficult to play against. I mean, he is so smart when you when you watch his POV and how he maneuvers around corners for intel. He's feeding that intel, but then also using the intel. He knows how to engage, but also when to back up. Right now, what's interesting about their placement on the list in second is, based on the expert consensus, they're solidly in third behind LA Thieves and FaZe, but they're so consistently in the grand finals that it's a bit confusing. Andy, who stands out for you on Surge, and why can't they close in the grand finals?
Oh, that's certainly an interesting question, right? I mean, like, you could pick the litter when it comes down to the Vancouver Surge. I mean, Neptune is a nasty pickup. You almost have to ask your question, what would this roster be like? Would they actually be #2 in the standings, or maybe competing for the #1 seed overall if this was the roster at the beginning of the year, if they didn't start playing with Pixie? But I would probably say the player that's standing out mostly to me is probably Mr. Plumbridge, Nasty. Look, Nasty has gone overlooked for so many different years. I was screaming this guy's name back when I was casting him in Challengers back in Cold War. He was playing on a team called Train Hard at the time, trying to get him to play over in the stateside. Obviously, easier said than done when it comes down to visas. And you can see what it means for Nasty when he's surrounded by bright individuals. He's competed against Abuza. Now he's his AR duo, setting pace in the back line. Travis McLeod, Neptune, like you were saying, he's just running at people and he's making rounds happen. 04 has to be one of the smartest, youngest players that we do have in the game. Vancouver Surge really have it all, and they have Rainbow Ray as a coach. So Nasty is in a system right now that obviously he feels very comfortable. He can slay in the respawns and call plays in the search and destroy. He's the player that's standing out mostly for me. Neptune would be the easiest one, for sure. But I think that Nasty's leading this team as an unsung hero when it comes down to a lot of these clutch moments, say in control and search and destroy.
Great takes all around. I feel like it's only a matter of time till they figure things out, but man, they just have not figured it out in the grand finals yet.
They haven't even won a single map in the grand finals either. And I think that that's the biggest problem. When you go back to Major 2, always the bridesmaid, never the bride for the Vancouver Surge, to your Silver Surfer take here, is that they lost to Atlanta FaZe map 5. I think it was round 11 in Major 2, and then they lost to Atlanta FaZe in grand finals 4-0. It wasn't round 11 in Major 3 versus LA Thieves, and then they meet them again in grand finals after beating Toronto Ultra in lower finals again, and then they don't win another map. So I don't think it's a skill drought. I think that it's a consistency drought. That's a long day of call. That's a lot of maps to be played.
That's true. I think that there's a lot to be said for stamina in a tournament like that, and sometimes you just run out of gas, and with teams like LA Thieves and Atlanta FaZe on the other side of the stage,
they have all the practice.
Yeah.
Where like Vancouver, like they're just now getting the practice, which I think is scary for like Major 4 and even Champs with how high of a seeding they already have.
Okay, well, we'll have to keep our eyes on the Vancouver Surge to see if they can finally get it done in one of these grand finals, assuming they keep making it there. But so far, their track record is impeccable. But this might be a controversial one. We got Atlanta FaZe coming in the number 3 slot. They've actually got a score of 78, which is just 2 points behind Surge. But this team was once the king of Call of Duty. Maybe they still are, but in the last 90 days, they haven't quite looked like it. They actually finished 6th place in the major qualifiers leading up to the last major, and then finished in top 6 at the LAN as well. Even in the current qualifiers leading up to Dallas, they did have a surprising loss against Cloud9 New York, which I don't think anybody saw coming. But Andy, is this downturn for FaZe a cause for concern, or are they just limit testing their map pool?
I think it's a little bit of testing the map pool and trying to figure out where they currently stand, and they're both best of 5s and best of 7. I mean, the game is forever growing, right? I mean, you can't just play the month 1 strategies, and I think that Atlanta FaZe are trying to either play with some different strategies or constantly throwing those those day 1 strategies out, because it is Atlanta FaZe, and they are limit testing their map pool, and they're even limit testing their breakoffs too. It's scary when you think about how meticulous this team does get into the weeds about how much they can min-max their map pool. And even within the map itself, by round, they see X, now we can, I guess, execute Delta J, whatever the plan may be. They have so many different tools at their disposal. And yeah, albeit they lost to Cloud9 New York, Celium's still leading the entire league as far as KD ratio is concerned. His engagements aren't always so high. Simp is again also in a conversation for being the greatest of all time. Sorry, Scump, but it is true. And he's also dropping numbers to be MVP of the season as well in between him and Cell. Draws has had some really, really rough spots. Abizi, I'm pretty sure, is still leading the league in Search and Destroy First Blood. So I think, if you can tell by the canter of my voice, no, I am not concerned about the Atlanta FaZe. EWC champions, Major 1 champions, 6th seed then. Major 2 champions, I believe that they were the number 2 seed then. And yeah, they were the number 6 seed going into Major 3, and they bowed out top 6. Did not have a very good stage, but you come in towards this one, in that first series that they played in online qualifiers, all the gloves were off, no more funny business. I think that this is truly going to be Atlanta FaZe at their peak. Just wait until we get to LAN, because they might just start dipping their toes into that very deep strategy book that we have been waiting for them to see, and then certain maps are not going to be close anymore. I guarantee you.
Okay, well, a lot to be said there about Atlanta FaZe. Yeah, obviously Major 1 doesn't come into consideration for these rankings, but it cannot be forgotten because this team is certainly one to watch out for. You can never sleep on Atlanta FaZe. But let's go ahead and jump into number 4 on the list, and I'm excited to hear what you had to say about this one, Andy. It's going to be Toronto Ultra coming in with a power ranking score of 74, so not too far behind the other 3. Last major, obviously, Beans having visa issues. They've got to sub in with Mercules. Granted, Mercules had one of the greatest debuts we've ever seen from a player, and they still made top 3. But my question for you, Andy, is will Toronto Ultra be even better now that Beans is back?
I don't know. It's tough to gauge, right? I mean, like, just because it's the same role, it's a different player, they make different mistakes as much as they make different decisions as well. You know, we even got to see that in the first qualifier where Ben Beans was attempting to almost fulfill the same OBJ role, so that way Jamie Insight could then run around like what we saw at the beginning of the major. It didn't work because Beans is more the aggressor. He would much rather be the third SMG. To Mercules' credit, that's the role that he fulfilled at the end of the major. And look, I'll be honest, I rate Toronto Ultra way higher than the top 14. The same things that we constantly talk about for the Vancouver Surge being back-to-back second-place teams, last-minute substitute or not, they got back-to-back third places. And I think that it goes even beyond that when you talk about Insight and Kleenex as a long-lasting duo in the Call of Duty League when Insight got called up from Singularity back in Cold War to play with his old Singularity duo of Kleenex. They are constantly always in the top 5, top 4, maybe even top 3 when they were playing with Scrap and Envoy last year, when they were playing with other rosters in previous years as well. They're constantly always in that leg room to constantly be top 3. And I do really rate this for Joe Deceives because he kind of got dealt a very tough hand from the 100 Thieves roster, the LA Thieves roster just this last season, and he's making his money's work right now with Beans. So I don't think that this is a tough spot for them to be in. Losing out on Mercules, obviously going to Optic, Texas, whatever it may be. I think that we still don't know what the ceiling looks like for this Toronto Ultra team with Rewind coming into the mix for Hardpoint. With all the changes that we have for Search and Destroy, there's still so many bags of tricks that this Ultra team does have, but I do respect them being in 4th here.
Okay, well, we'll keep our eyes on Ultra. Hopefully, Beans had a successful trip to the embassy over in England to make sure he can make it here to Dallas. But I'm excited because I feel like this roster may be like the same issues that Vancouver has when they make it to the grand finals. Like, imagine if a Toronto Ultra makes it to the grand finals, would they suffer the same fate? I don't know. I feel like they might be more likely to rise to the occasion. So
I agree.
We'll have to see how that pans out. But let's go ahead and reveal the number 5 spot. This was a hotly contested one. There's a pretty major gap between the top 4 and everybody else. So I was curious how the numbers shook out for the 5th place spot. And it is Miami Heretics coming in with a score of 46. Maybe not that surprising. The all-Spanish roster has been on the rise. They've made a few upsets. Of course, they did take down Toronto Ultra at the last major. Ended up losing to them in the lower side, but I mean, they still ended up with a very respectable top 4 finish, kind of finding the same form they had in Major 1, but looking even better than ever. They also are the hottest team in the Major 4 qualifiers because they now go into Dallas with the number 1 seed after finishing 5-0. So my question for you, Andy, is how hot is Miami right now? And I don't mean the city.
I was actually going to give you a temperature too. I don't know. It's probably like somewhere south of like 95 degrees. Fahrenheit, of course. But yeah, look, well, you got Miami Heretics. You got 2 Rookie of the Year candidates. And let's not forget that Miami, even before Super was acquired to play with them, they got top 3 at the major number 1. Home crowd cheese, whatever. I don't care. That team's gross. I think that Rancor has been shooting absolutely straight. I think that this is leveling up medals to places we have not seen him go in quite some time. And the same thing could be said for Real. The team is obviously gelling with Super in towards the mix. And not to mention how, like you were talking about, they are undefeated in Major 4 qualifiers. And I'm pretty sure that Super is leading the entire league for Search and Destroy KD ratio. He makes an AR look like an SMG at certain points of time. And I think that that's the finesse that you do get with Super, and it is very fun to watch. And I think that a lot of people are just excited to be able to see the Heretics do well. I mean, we got certain instances of this, whether you're looking to the back of challengers or even when the Vegas Falcons were a fully fledged Saudi Arabian team. This is a full Spanish roster. And almost feels like the whole country is Spain versus the world of like Canadians, North America. You got one Aussie in there too. And it's just crazy to me that these 4 Spaniards who've been playing together in and out of different Spanish-based teams are finally in the league together, making this impact. Is a sight for eyes for sure, but I think that they're hot right now because they are gelling so well together. It really does say a lot when a team does get together that well, spending a lot of time together, scrims are going well for them as well, and they're translating all of that in towards their game's experience. They definitely need to get better as far as their respawns are concerned. Hardpoints going down to time constantly, losing out hardpoints maybe by a total of like 20 points in between both maps 1 and 4. Controls losing out on offensive rounds, defensive holds are looking stagnant, but their Search and Destroy is godlike. And if they can continue to lean on that, and the same thing for what we were talking about for LA Thieves from Major 2 going into Major 3, you just got to get a couple respawn maps. This team could probably walk away with a Major 4 win depending on how the opening round goes.
Wow. Bold statement there, and I gotta be honest, when I watched Miami play Hardpoint, I got Vietnam flashbacks to my matchmaking teammates in ranked. Like, get in the hill, man, please. Can you please just get in the hill? Okay, now that that's out of my system, let's mention some of the honorable mentions. So coming in, the 6, 7, and 8 spots were Optic, Texas, Boston Breach, and the Carolina Royal Ravens, which might surprise a few people, but that's how the data shook out. Any comments on the honorable mentions? Anyone we should look out for?
I definitely would rate Optic to be an honorable mention. I mean, like, I think that Optic on their best day could probably beat Miami on their best day, personally, right now, if they're given the practice, but that could also be a hot take, I don't know. But I don't think that Carolina should have been at least even talked about to even be top 8. I've been very, very hard on this team as of late because I care. But mostly because it just doesn't make any sense. The Vivid drop going in towards Major 3, they already qualified for champs, but it's just not working. I haven't seen the impact yet. And although they did 3-0 Boston Breach, I don't even know what that means because, like, Boston, they're losing to teams that aren't even qualified for champs. They're beating Optic, losing to Optic, losing to Carolina. I don't even know what that means anymore. They're so inconsistent ever since that roster became together at EWC. It's hard for me to justify them to be a top 8 team right now.
Yeah, I think a lot of what you just said even further exemplifies like why everybody in the top 4 is so far ahead of the rest.
Correct.
It's like everyone else is so inconsistent. Like you could never even predict who's going to beat what team.
Yep.
But this has been a lot of fun. Andy, I want to give you one last question. I'm putting you on the spot here. But as we approach Dallas, give me your top 3 predictions in order, first, second, third at Dallas. What do you think?
I got Atlanta FaZe bouncing back and winning. I think that they will beat LA Thieves in a map 7 round 11. And then for third, I'm gonna go Vancouver Surge. We'll go with Vancouver.
Okay.
I think that the bridesmaid finally gets broken up. They will get that bronze medal, but I think Atlanta FaZe climb back up top.
All right, I think those are very safe picks, and I'm excited to see FaZe maybe bounce back in full form like Andy predicts. But this has been the 2025 Call of Duty Global Gaming Network Power Rankings. We've got more of these videos on the way as well. Make sure you guys take a look at the description. We've got something that might pop up on the screen here to show you the VCT America's Power Rankings and, of course, the Counter-Strike that have already been done. We got League of Legends around the corner as well. So, as always, keep your eyes glued to the Global Gaming Network, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Bye-bye.